Welcome back to the Softpreneur Podcast, where anti-establishment thought leaders and holistic wellness visionaries get clear on how to build a business like nobody else's business, with your hosts, Elisa Joachim and Dawn Petrin. Together, we co-create All Connected Agency. We help the wellness industry's most disruptive thought leaders express their essence louder and prouder to create more profitability and possibility. And now it's your turn.
Yay. And today we have the amazing Carly Banks of the Habit Ayurveda on. Carly has been running her Ayurveda business for almost a decade. In this January, she went viral on Instagram and TikTok. We are chatting today about all things going viral and whether that even matters to your business's bottom line, how to show up as yourself and crush without, feeling like you're being crushed in your online business, and whether or not it really matters how many people see your posts and what you're going to do about it. So listen in as we take you through this beautiful ride and get to learn from Carly's amazing wisdom. Yay. Hello and welcome back. We are so excited today to have Carly Banks of the Habit Ayurveda on to talk about, we'll talk about Ayurveda, definitely. And also, I'm hoping what we bring out in this chat is about how to show up authentically as yourself on social media and what that can feel like, what that can look like, and what growth might feel like from that. So, Carly, we like to start with this question first, which is, do you have a spiritual practice? And if so, would you be willing to share a little bit about it with our listeners?
For sure. Thanks for having me. And yes, I most certainly have a spiritual practice as an Ayurveda teacher. My practice is living Ayurvedically, which is like creating a ritual of the little daily things that you do every day. Might sometimes pull a tarot card here and there, but there's something really special about making your tea very quietly and walking around in the grass while your dog goes to the bathroom. And where can we add a little bit of ritual or a little bit of the divine to everyday things? As an Ayurveda teacher, I teach basically biohacking, like these little hacks for longevity and health that modern culture is so into, but we've turned it into this weird, masculine, patriarchal thing, this capitalist thing where people can make money off. Ayurveda teaches the spiritual side, teaches that, rising early in the morning is this opportunity for you to connect with your potential in life. Pausing into tasks, take a breath is your opportunity to regulate your nervous system, but also to connect head to body, to step out of your head and into your whole. And so I teach people how to ritualize their everyday experience of life rather than adding in more spiritual practices. And so that is how I try to live my life. You want to be a product of your product, right? But it's been life-changing experience for me, and it's made my work so much easier as well.
I love that so much because being the Softpreneur Podcast, I think one of the things we're seeking to dispel here is this idea that taking time for yourself or your self-care daily ritual is somehow taking out of your ability to be a productive worker bee, whether you own your own business or whether you have a different kind of job. And so I love what you just shared. And also this idea that it can actually make everything that you do easier, including, I imagine, the way that you show up for social media.
Absolutely. It creates a regulated nervous system for me. So rather than, being rushed or stressed or worried that I'm doing it right, or trying to force myself, I really am more often coming to it from a regulated place and doing it from a place of love, or from that place of, I'm doing this to help other people, not I'm doing this because I need followers or I need money.
Amen. Satnam. Jaima. Yeah, I love that so much. Thank you so much. Carly, can you tell us how your business kind of came to be, how you got started?
Yeah, I've been in business for 8 years now. And it happened as a result of my postpartum depression. I was not raised in Ayurvedic culture. I am standard North American white lady, raised on microwave dinners, product of divorce, all the things, raised in a culture where we don't have connection to the land. We don't have connection to the food on our plates. We were not religious by any means. So no prayer, no connection to a higher power of any kind. And so my outlets for stress or anxiety or worry were alcohol, drugs, spending money, and eating. I had a terrible sugar, junk food addiction. I was drinking every week, smoking pot to bring myself down at night. I had a rage disorder, just absolutely snapping at my children and my husband. I was on the edge of divorce. I hated my job. I worked in construction. I'm not a yoga teacher or anything. I didn't have any kind of following. And my life was horrible. I was 33 and I thought, what is this? I had every symptom. I was always exhausted. I was on anti-anxiety meds. I was on antidepressants. I was on anti-migraine medication. And I just could see that things weren't about to get any better. And I knew that life wasn't supposed to look like this. And I had a friend come to town. She came in for business and she had started learning about Ayurveda. And she mentioned it to me. We went on a drive together. And by the end of the 2 hours that I had spent with her, I had signed up for school. And 3 months it took for me to absolutely change my life. I realized that I had no routine, no structure. All of my habits were bad ones. The lifestyle, Ayurveda teaches us about the slow accumulation of symptoms as a product of our diet and our lifestyle habits. But because I was raised the way that I was, like so many of us, I just didn't see it. I thought I was doing what was normal, but I was hurting myself in so many ways. And I was blaming it on the people around me. My stress was because of my job, because of my husband, because of my children, but I wasn't taking care of me at all. And so the second that I changed that, the second that I took the responsibility and said the most silliest of things, like, I'm going to go to bed. I'm not going to lay on my screen until 11:30. When I'm tired, I'm going to listen to my body saying it's tired and I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to wake up a little bit before the kids. I'm going to go for a walk, whether I'm tired or not. I'm going to stop making excuses for taking care of myself. And it was like just a handful of things. It honestly felt like I really didn't do much. And 3 months later, I had dropped 35 pounds. I had my libido back. My husband and I were in love again. I was so happy with my kids. And I was like, well, I can't not make this my life's calling now.
All tingly. Whoa.
I'm all teary.
Oh, goodness. Wow. That's such a huge shift so quickly with such simple things. And so when you embodied it, it felt to you like, okay, this is it. This is the call. Like, I need to share this work with other people. I think for so many of us, that's really what brings us to a life of service, whether you're a coach or a yoga teacher or any of those sorts of things. So how did you approach then turning it into your income space?
It was interesting. I started by giving free talks at local yoga studios. There was a mom and baby yoga studio in town, and I would go there and just have chats with the moms about adjusting your daily routines so that you can get better sleep at night. And I ended up speaking at the midwifery and holding a couple of groups there. And for interior health, our hospital system, I did a talk for the caregivers, the family members of folks dealing with chronic illness and things, people who, nurses, people who are, losing sleep or working shift work or experiencing that extreme stress of being a caretaker, whether you're working with an ill person or with a child. and just the extra burden and how we need to take care of ourselves so we can take care of others. So I did a lot of free talks, and then I launched a beta program, like a 12-week program. And I had 2 women enrolled, and they came to my house in my little loft room upstairs, and we would just talk up here for 12 weeks. And they both experienced the same life-changing benefits that I did. And so I ran it again and again and again. And slowly it has gone through so many iterations over the last 8 years. I was running it live in person. I had as many as 12 women in this loft space, and I was doing the free talks to enroll people, doing sales conversations in the evenings with my husband watching my baby downstairs. And then we transitioned to like a hybrid. Some people were online watching on an iPad while other people were sitting in the room. And then we transitioned to all online. And then I created a webinar automated funnel that was sort of bringing people in more on Evergreen. I ran it twice a year, and then I ran it 4 times a year, and then I moved it to Evergreen. And it's been through many iterations, and now it's a membership style. And so, yeah, it's been interesting growth, and it's fascinating to have experienced all of the different ways that you can grow a business, doing things in person. You know, we're talking today about social media, but it seems like that is the easiest, but having experienced both, my goodness, no, it's not the easiest. Like, people are way warmer when you meet them in person. They're way more likely to say yes to you when you meet them in person and sit down with them and have that conversation where you're experiencing each other's body language and taking each other's cues. Yeah. But at the end of the day, we can't do it. We can't do both. We can't do it all a lot of the time. You don't want to stretch your capacity too thin. So maybe that would be one of my most important messages for today is find the thing that you really love. And if it's not social media, then don't do it. No offense.
No, amen to that. And thank you for highlighting that like talks in person at yoga studios or community spaces are pretty much, in my opinion, one of the absolute best ways to launch a business where you're doing like wellness coaching. Of course, my background is I had the yoga studio where people were doing that. And we have a common friend, right? Donna, who's also was an Ayurveda teacher. And I just like watched her do that and watched it work so well for her. And I have told lots of our coaching clients the same thing. The best thing you can do is make community connections and show up in community in a real way. So it's not just about the sales. It's like, well, that's actually a place you would go, right? Where you would actually like be in community. And that when you're serving people in person, you can see what works and what doesn't work a lot easier than when they're hiding behind the screen, behind Zoom. Right. So yeah. Thank you for sharing that. That's like, that's a beautiful journey that I know you're still like evolving and iterating on. Right.
Yeah. And I always think about like, do I want to go back and do more in-person things? But at the end of the day, whether I stay more focused on social or not, I'm so glad that I got my reps in doing things in person and speaking to people and getting feedback in person, because you can't be a good teacher and you can't get people the results that they want as easily through those social channels and just selling like digital products unless you have a really good system for feedback and support on the back end, right? And so I'm really glad that up front I got this social proof that I have something that is really beneficial.
I love it. And how and when did you decide to be more present on social and grow? And like, can you walk us through a little bit how you grew a following on social or your process for that?
Yeah, I think I came up having been in this online program space for almost a decade. I came up sort of in the time when we were expected to do a little bit of everything. And so I was trying to like put content on Instagram, put content on Facebook. I had some things on Pinterest. but I wasn't doing any of it really well. I had in 2019, 2020, really successful years using Facebook ads. And so I was able to grow my following and my list quite a bit. At its maximum, I had 152,000 email subscribers, and I was cashing leads at 9 cents because I built a quiz. Thanks to Ms. Shantuzat. But on the other end, that didn't necessarily get me followers on Instagram. That I think up until end of last year, I had about 3,500 followers. And I had spent 7 years trying to put content and increase engagement. Not consistently, but I was doing it. And then in January of this year, I had a reel go viral, and now I have 74,000 followers. And so I'm just getting a lot more views in general.
Wait a minute. So you had 3,500 or 35,000 followers at the end of December?
3,500. I've spent 7 years trying to break 10K.
Wow, I didn't realize, because I was always like, Carly, I knew about your quiz doing so well and like the email list. I think it was Donna who was like, oh my God, her quiz is getting her 9-cent leads. Like it's going so well. So I didn't realize that shift just happened. I feel like we were like hanging out. Was that right before that or right after that shift happened? Like what changed that made that reel go viral, do you think?
I'm not sure, but I think that what popped off about that reel was that it's like a learn about yourself. It's a quiz style. People love learning about themselves. And so I gave them, it was a practice of determining your dosha or your Ayurvedic body type using a simple assessment of like your wrist circumference. So it's sort of an assessment of your bone composition and what happens. Do you want me to describe it? Yeah. So for anyone listening, you can, if you take your middle finger and your thumb and you wrap it around your wrist bone, and if you can like just comfortably touch your fingers together, this is like a pitta or medium bone structure body type. If you have like quite an overlap, this is more of a vata type bone structure. And if you're like barely touching or not touching, this is kapha type bone structure. And what we learned from Ayurvedic perspective is there's so many other characteristics that are associated with this bone structure, and it becomes very interesting. And so once they learn that, then they get invited to take a quiz. Like a chump, I did not have many chats set up when I created that, but it still got me like 27,000 email subscribers because people were going to find the quiz. And it was, I thought, well, I'll just throw it up on TikTok and see. I'm never on TikTok. I don't use it. I should use it, but I don't. I threw it up there. It got 3.7 million views. On Instagram, it got 4.1 million views. And so it makes me really happy to know that it was that sort of talking head style video that went viral. I've had a few since then go viral that are like, using some kind of meme or some kind of video clip. And it's great because it still brings in subscribers. It still brings in interest, but it makes me feel really special that, it was one of my teachings that people were interested in. And I was just thinking about this morning that it's pretty common that we see people in the health and wellness space on social media doing these like B-roll with the script over top, or the trending videos where they're like pointing at words or whatever, like these little, effective for the algorithm type content, but there's no meat. They don't insert videos of them teaching anything. And I'm a little bit like, how do you sell your product? Like, I feel like I don't know you because all I see is you like, drinking a latte at the coffee shop with words over top.
So this is so important. And we speak about like, the stages of awareness in the funnel and how you might have like different content in the like problem aware to the like solution aware. And so what I think is interesting is that teaching moment that you shared, that was your first like pop off on social media. That was like maybe unaware actually, right? Like, and at the same time, right in that one video, you got to take people who were either unaware or problem aware and move them all the way into like aware of you and that you are brilliant and that there is a way that you serve, right? So that is super duper cool. And I also love what you're saying there because like, yeah, it's really easy to like put on a looping. I don't know, not actually really easy. I want to like pause there. One of the easier ways to get your stuff seen might be to like hack the algorithm, which we are not about, and like put on a looping sound and a lot of words on a thing and then have like a POV reel. And we're not against those, of course, right? But like like you said, where's the meat? And like, what does that do? And how does that actually move people towards like wanting to work with you? It kind of doesn't, or at least you have to put in more effort after that. And so I kind of would love to chat for a moment about this thing that we talk about in our coaching program and with our clients, which is like, you put content out there to get the views and you get all these likes and maybe new follows and it's like, woohoo, how exciting. But then you put content out there that's like, testimonials about how your product or program works, or that's like way closer to the sale. Like, we put out our like, the Holistic Business Society is open and I'm like, wah, wah, right? You get like 2 likes and a comment from your biggest fan and that's it. But there's still this importance. It can't all be viral content, and going viral doesn't necessarily mean like your business now is making $1 million a month, right? So I love to like chat a little bit about that because I think people get so caught up in vanity metrics that they're doing it for the algorithm rather than the people they want to serve.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you don't have meat, then people are just going to be like, yeah, I don't want people to come pecking at my content. I want you to see that algorithm juicy little tidbit that I put out there and then click on my profile and learn from me. I like to think of our feed as like as a sales page. It has to have every element. It has to have the testimonials. It has to have what my offer is, what the product is, what you get inside, who it's for, who it's not for. And so, yeah, I think that it's such a shame. I think we're leaving a lot on the table, or a lot of opportunity on the table, when we don't put up that content, even though we know that it's not necessarily going to reach everybody. It doesn't have to. It only has to reach the people who we want to purchase. And you can leverage your email, with that. Like, I like to post those kinds of things and then send out a newsletter email that clicks through to the Instagram, right?
I love that, the feed as a sales page. And I think it highlights too, like how much a lot of people have hangups around, or like collectively we've got these hangups around selling, right? So there's no mistake that like people don't want to be doing the sales thing because I don't want to bother anyone, or I don't want to get in anyone's way. And we've been talking about the sort of shadow hunting aspects of social media too. And it really feels like there's that collective, like, don't be salesy programming that a lot of us have gotten. And I love, one thing I particularly love though, is this, like, you have with the quiz a way to bring people so beautifully onto your email list with social media content too. And I think a lot of social media influencers or people who've gone viral don't then bring them into their ecosystem, or don't have the infrastructure to nurture them into customers or actually get conversions, because the conversions from email marketing will always and have always been higher than just straight up social media conversions. So I think it's amazing that you had the email infrastructure and the quiz in place first, and then that the viral reel was speaking to this like healthy self-interest too, and practically a quiz.
I speak to so many Ayurveda teachers because I'm experiencing success in the online space, and which is kind of hard to come by. And it's very common that I hear people saying like, I'm showing up online, I'm in the Instagram, I got this many followers, I'm not getting any sales. But when we dig deeper, they don't have an offer. They don't have a clear offer or a clear pathway that this person is taking. And I know people who even run ads to get their email subscribership up, but they don't have a clear offer. They're just sending them a weird welcome sequence and then general newsletters. And yeah, don't even bother really getting into social media if you don't have a super clear call to action, because it is literally wasting your time. It's literally wasting your time. Even with a clear call to action and a clear way to get people onto my emails, I find it's very important to also be consistently showing up on socials in the hopes that I'm going to be touching them in their feed, because we're more likely to sit around scrolling on Instagram than we are to even read our emails. And we're more likely to scroll on Instagram than we are to click through and read a sales page. So you better make sure that you have a reel that pertains to the different sections of your sales pages or the different information that you're sharing in your emails, because that's where I find a lot of my clients is, stuck in that flight or freeze, laying on the couch, scrolling to pass the time.
You're so smart. And I'm so glad that you are serving other Ayurvedic practitioners, and helping them in this way, because that fight, flight, or freeze that you're speaking about your clients being in, I feel like so many of us are actually in that when it comes to content creation and offer creation. Even Elisa and I, as we sort out our we know what we do done for you, for people who are ready and can afford it. But when it comes to serving people who are just building their businesses, to figure out what exactly our perfect offer is, we kind of freeze because we're like, oh God, you could put so much in it, etc. And then when it comes to creating content, that's a big reason we have the podcast, is it's way more fun and easier for us to speak to people and to each other than it would be to be like, okay, now I'm going to make a reel. So I wonder if you can speak a little bit about your content creation process and where the muse hits you, where do you get inspired? And then how do you move from inspiration to execution without getting stuck in freeze?
I think I spent too many years creating content based on what I was interested in and not enough sort of reaching out to the pool of my existing community and listening to what their issues are. And so now my system is very much based on listening to the cues from my community, my course members, my membership community members, my one-on-one clients, and also my email subscribers and the responses that they give me, and listening to what are the most common things. So over the last year, absolutely been hearing a lot about hormone imbalance, perimenopause symptoms. And so I created a guide to resetting your hormones with Ayurveda. It's a 90-day program. And I've sat down and created a list of common topics, the symptoms of the most common hormone imbalances, hypothyroidism, PCOS, adrenal fatigue, things like this. And I'm just kind of going through and discussing each one of these and what are the symptoms, and from Ayurvedic perspective, where does that come from, and how Ayurveda teaches about that accumulation of disease over time, and how to start looking for the more subtle symptoms and how we can fix them using our lifestyle. And the more you think about your product and all of the different topics of conversation that come from that product, it becomes easy to go, oh, I really want to teach them about all of the hazards of staying up late at night versus getting up early in the morning. And the scientific backing of why that's really bad for your hormones and causes excess stress on the body, which causes every hormone imbalance in the book. And so just start by getting so into what it is that you do. Sometimes we treat these as separate entities. Like, this is what I do. And then my other job is marketing.
I love too how your content often has humor or like ways that you engage your audience. And it's so clear that you're like bringing yourself and as a personal brand, like your own spark and style to the content too. And is that something like even as a teacher, when you're doing one-on-ones, has that been part of the way that you approach this, or how did the humor and like kind of weave its way into your content?
Yeah, 100%. I think something that is quite painful about our approach to health and wellness today is that it's so serious. It's so like, push it, crush it, get it, like change your life. This is bad for you. This is good for you. Life is supposed to be so joyful, and caring for yourself feels so amazing. And yeah, sometimes life is hard, and sometimes we have habits that these like bad habits and ways, like we call it self-sabotaging and all of these things. And it can feel hurtful and we can feel judged. And at the end of the day, you have to call yourself out on your shit in order to change your habits, but you don't have to be mean about it. You can have fun. It can be joyful. Joy is medicine. It's an underrated medicine. It's been my mission to teach Ayurveda in a way that is, I bring the humor because it has to be so relatable to what's actually happening in your life. I could talk about like excess pitta in the body causes an increase in heat in your digestive system and you will have loose bowels. Or I could show a meme of a guy having a cup of coffee and then running, holding his ass to the toilet because he's got diarrhea. Like, the second is more interesting to me. So yeah, I think it's so important. And memes are they're just so great. It's an incredible way of relating to other people. And when I started to look at memes through the lens of these three doshas, these three Ayurvedic body types, it's so funny to look at them when you understand it and immediately understand like, oh yeah, that's vata, that's pitta, that's kapha. And it just gives me a giggle because we're just humans being human.
Yes. And your memes are hilarious. And you being yourself is, I think that's like a big part of what happened and why that one went viral. And I was just scrolling through your like reels, and you have tons of videos that have gotten, tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of video or views since January, not just that like one that hit 4.1 million or what have you. And I want to come back to this thing that you said, because I think it also relates to this, which is that like so many people are focusing on what they do and then focusing on their marketing and then focusing on being themselves. And like, our agency is called All Connected, right? Like the truth of the matter is that your marketing is an extension of yourself, and your social media is an extension of yourself, and the way you serve is an extension of yourself. And I think what I understand is that when you started really being yourself authentically online, combined with listening to what people were asking you and actually like, asking them and checking the cues that you were getting in your membership, in your email list and on Insta and TikTok and stuff, that you were actually able to, it's almost like a energetic hack of the algorithm rather than this like, use a trending audio. Not that you don't use trending audio, right? Does that feel right? Or is there anything else you want to add?
Absolutely. It's don't get caught up in like, what do I do to get the algorithm and more following? Start with all the ways that you're amazing and your thing is amazing. Make that list of topics. And then go find your social that trending content and overlay your topic onto that thing. 100%. Also, I recommend like have a background that is recognizable. Like I swear this wallpaper on my ceiling has made a difference, because when people are scrolling, they're like, oh, there's the lady with that wallpaper. What's she going to say today? So have something consistent where you're always like, not always, but like, that background.
I love it. Can you tell us a little bit about what it felt like in your body when you realized that like measuring of the wrist thing was gonna going viral?
Well, that maybe points to where I need to do some inner work because I'm a chronic undervaluer of myself. And so to me, it didn't mean much of anything. It didn't change my opinion of myself. By no means did it like absolutely change my life or anything like that. We think that going viral is going to be this like, be all and end all and you're going to be a millionaire and whatever. What I can say is it has encouraged me to be more consistent on social media, which is great. And it has encouraged me to create offers that are more suitable to a very cold audience. If you want to be a social media girly, you might not want to have nothing but a $1,000 program, which is what I had when I went viral. Now I have a lot more small offers. And so I'm making money every day because it's like I got the easy, yes, $7, $17, $67 items. So you got to think about like how you're serving those people versus those people that you meet at a free talk. Right. So it's encouraged me to sort of pivot my offers. And I don't know, I guess I have some work to do around like the potential for how that can serve people when I have that at that level of reach. But yeah, I don't really think much about it. Oh, and also I've had a couple of brand sponsorships since then. So that's kind of a cool thing is I've had a couple companies reach out to me, inviting me to advertise their, Shilajit or whatever herbal herbs for payment, which is cool.
I love it because like, I feel like a lot of times people who talk about reaching a certain level of success, like sometimes they might get blocked up. Like, oh, now I have so many more people watching me. I have to like, like there can be a level of like discomfort or how do I keep making viral reels or keep doing that? But the fact that it actually like you kept going or created consistency, like I'm really enjoying hearing too, like how the story of your business and social media growth and expansion feel really rooted in the way that you live and the practice that you bring to the world, right? Because it wasn't like a nervous system overdrive, like elation, like moment, right? It was like, I'm going to like, there are some shifts now and like, I'm just like enjoying too. It feels like there's this kind of almost like, keep seeing an 8 form, this like continuum between I'm going to work with people and now it's going to grow in this way, or I'm going to hone what I offer based on real-time feedback from people. And then it feeds back into how you communicate what you offer to people. And there's actually a brilliant simplicity in that. That's not like, oh, what am I supposed to share? What am I supposed to say? But it's all tied into like the actual work that you do with people that transforms their lives. And then as it deepens, you keep going back to listening and to being present. And so can you speak a bit about how your practice informs the way that you show up in moments in your business or before you're creating a reel?
Yeah, I would say, especially in relation to going viral. And it was maybe a 3-week period where that reel was really continuously blowing up. I had to really reassert some boundaries with myself around being in the online space. And so I had to institute like deleting social media apps off of my phone every weekend so that I wouldn't be drawn into it. So I wouldn't be checking whether I had a sale or whether people signed up for the webinar or whatever. And I'm glad that I did that because it has been something that I've continued. And I generally have pretty good boundaries around my work hours. I think that as entrepreneurs, we tend to have this like open 24/7, 365 mentality when it comes to the possibility of making an income. And I'm just not prescribing to that. I have an autoresponder set up on my social media accounts where, if it's downtime, people will get a message back saying, I'm not here right now. I'm having good boundaries. And so I think that I don't think that that's a disservice to potential clients. I think that it's a gift, especially if you're in the health and wellness space. Please don't respond to somebody who messages you at 11:30 at night. That's not showing them how to care for their health and wellness, right? You have to be the product of your product. The tough thing that I'm experiencing right now about social media is I want to be more present in my stories, showing people sort of Ayurvedic lifestyle. But to live an Ayurvedic lifestyle is not to be thinking of recording your practices all day long. And so I'm feeling very hesitant. And, the ritualization of your daily routine, it feels so counterintuitive or counterproductive to be recording that making of that tea and that enjoyment of a morning walk in the grass. And so that part I kind of have to find a flow with, because I want people to experience those things with me, but those things are also just for me. So if you have any thoughts on that, I'd love to hear them.
Yeah, I just love it, because I would be the person in there being like, Carly, share your shit on your stories. I want to see your tea and all of that. And so I think my thoughts around that are like, do it a little bit and then let it go. And also like, if it's not appropriate, really, I would just talk about it afterwards, and you could like show it, like rather than like showing the making of the tea. When you're done having your tea ritual, you could like sip on it and speak about it or what have you. Right. But I think that you're right, that it's the strong boundaries are actually a beautiful gift for your subscribers, for your followers, and that by not showing all that stuff in your stories, you might actually be, being in your practice in a deeper way, which is going to serve them in a deeper way. Carly, thank you so, so much for being here. This was actually I knew it was going to be brilliant, but this was a really deep exploration of building a business and the ways that you can do it on or off social media. And before we tell our listeners, and I guess watchers, because we're on YouTube, before we tell them the best places to find you, I wonder if there's anything else you love to bring present to anyone who's listening.
I think it's, just to reiterate that, if social media is something that worries you or scares you, or it's not something that you enjoy, like I want to be famous. I love being in front of the camera. I love it. I love being funny and fun and doing weird stuff, right? If that doesn't feel like it's for you, or like you need to change your personality in order to be that kind of person who does that, there's so many beautiful ways to grow your business. You don't have to, we don't have to do it all. You don't have to write a book. You don't have to be on social media. You don't have to run big courses. You don't have to have a physical product. Like, you can choose the thing that feels so good for you, and you can sell it in a way that feels good for you. But please don't try to do it all. Please don't try and spread yourself too thin, because when we're doing too many things poorly, it's not going to get you very far. And also get ManyChat if you're on social media.
Get ManyChat and some help setting it up, likely too. Okay. Thank you. That is beautiful and so important. And I agree, especially when we're newer to business, we think we have to do everything. And even Elisa and I right now are like, oh my God, should we be posting every week? We're like, well, we posted once a month last year. Like, we seem to be fine, right? So like, finding your lane and playing in it feels really, really good. So where are the best places for people to find you? Where should they come find out more about you and what you're doing?
Well, if you want to follow me on social media, I'm on Instagram at thehabit.net, or no, at thehabitayurveda. I'm trying. I hired a VA for the first time in 8 years. So she's hopefully going to be repurposing my content to other social media spots, but it's Instagram at thehabitayurveda for now. And my website is thehabit.net. And there you can go and take my quiz. Over 500,000 people have taken this quiz to determine your Ayurvedic mind-body state and any imbalances that might be showing up that we can easily bring balance to with little lifestyle changes. So 10 out of 10 recommend.
Love it. Okay, we will link all of this in our show notes. We'll also link Shanti's quiz course if you are interested in your own quiz. Woot woot. And thank you so much, Carly. I can't wait to chat more again someday. And I'm going to continue sending your memes around the world in the DMs. So
thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Carly.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Softpreneur podcast. If it resonated with your ethos and your soul, we would be so grateful to you if you leave a review wherever you listen to your podcast.
This helps us grow so much, and it also helps more visionary business owners find the show so they can make their dream life their real life. So many blessings and love.